All right, you guys, so today we're going to continue working alongside division and relating it back to multiplication. So here on my paper, you're going to see I have a tree and I have a bush. Well, my tree, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, is 60 feet tall. 60 feet tall. Now, what I don't know is how tall this bush is. So I'm looking for how many feet tall is this bush compared to my tree. But what I do know is my tree is 4 times larger than my bush. So if I think about multiplication, that means I know that whatever the height of my bush is times 4, because it's 4 times the tree is 4 times larger, is going to give me the height of my tree, which we know is 60 feet. But because I don't know how tall this bush is, I can't multiply here. So again, this is where I'm going to have to rely on the inverse operation or the opposite, division. So in order to switch my problem around, my product here in my multiplication problem is now going to become my dividend. So I'm going to take my 60 feet, and that's going to be the first part of my problem. So I'm going to do 60 divided by, and this 4 is going to stay exactly where it is. I tell my students in class what you do is you're just going to take this problem and you're going to write it backwards. You're going to replace this with division and replace this with an equal sign. So now you have 60 divided by 4 equals, again, that height of the bush. Now, if you're not comfortable enough with division yet, and you would prefer to stick to multiplication, that is fine. Now, there are a couple different ways you can do it, but I'm not going to go into those right now. I'm just going to focus on division. One way that my students have learned to divide this year is through long division and partial products. Now, in this case, 60 feet has this 0 on the end. So what I tell my students to do is hide that 0 for now. So I'm just going to put a little slash through it. So now I have 6 divided by 4. If I were to write this as a long division problem, I would say, okay, well, how many times will 4 go into 6? And my students know 4 times 1 is going to give me 4, and that's as close as I can get. And I'm left with 2. Well, now if I add that 0 back, bring down my 0. Well, now how many times will 4 go into 20? Now I know that 4 times 5 will give me 20. When I subtract, I'm left with nothing. So that means that there's no remainder. So now I know my quotient in this case is also going to be my answer for how tall our bush is. So now we know that our bush is 15 feet tall. Now, if you really wanted to make sure that your answer was correct, again, remember that multiplication is the inverse operation. So I can actually use multiplication here to check my work. So to check my work, I'm going to go back, take my problem, and just like I did up here and I wrote it backwards, I'm now going to do the same thing. So I'm going to take 15 times 4, and it should give me 60. So I'm going to take my 15 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. And if those two match up, then you have successfully divided.